So after studying this module, you shall be able to understand the importance of brain, understand the effects of aging, that is physical as well as cognitive. Next, learn about the myths related to brain aging, evaluate the different methods to prevent memory loss, learn about the methods of dealing with memory loss. Now let me first introduce you to the topic. The brain can easily be considered to be the boss of our body. Aging entails many physical, biological, chemical and psychological changes. It is quite logical to assume that the brain is no exception and is likely to experience changes due to aging as any other aspect of the individual. With age, there is a gradual deterioration of the brain and its related systems. Recent MRI studies have shown age-related regional decreases in cerebral volume. This volume reduction, however, is not uniform over the entire brain. Some brain regions shrink at a rate up to 1% per year, whereas others remain relatively stable until the end of lifespan. The brain is very complex and is composed of many different areas and types of tissues or matter. The different functions of the brain tissues in the brain may be more or less susceptible to age-induced changes. The brain matter can be broadly classified as grey matter and white matter. The grey matter consists of cell bodies in the cortex, whereas white matter takes its color from the tightly packed myelinated axons connecting the neurons of the cerebral cortex to each other and with the periphery. Let us understand what are the effects of aging on the brain. Brain function varies as the person goes through a variety of changes through the various stages of the development. During childhood, the various functions of the brain can be seen to be increasingly facilitating the learning of complex skills. The brain functions in a relatively stable manner during adulthood and deteriorates as the person grows older. This age of deterioration varies from one person to another. First of all is loss of memory. This is the predominant sign of aging. It is the most noticeable sign along with wrinkles, loss of eyesight and loss of hearing. Difficulty in remembering names and recent incidences can be seen in most aging persons. In some elderly persons, it is very severe, as in the case of those suffering from Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease. Loss of memory has been explained by the deterioration of certain neural pathways in the brain. The second is the loss of neural circuits and brain plasticity. Due to the complexity of the brain with all of its structures and functions, it is logical to assume that some areas of the brain would be more vulnerable to aging than others. It is suggested that age-related cognitive decline is due in part not to neuronal death but to synaptic alterations. Advances in MRI technology have provided the ability to see that the brain structure in great detail in an easy, non-invasive manner in vivo. Bartzokis et al. Has noted that there is a decrease in both grey matter as well as the white matter after the age of 40. Age effects on grey matter density appear more predominantly in the left versus the right hemisphere. Certain language functions such as word retrieval and production were found to deteriorate as a function of the age. Cognitive decline has been observed to be the result of brain changes associated with aging. Brain plasticity refers to the brain's ability to change its structure and function, physically, functionally and chemically, throughout life. This flexibility plays an extremely important role in the development as well as the decline of the brain and in shaping of an individual's distinct personality. Brain plasticity is a physical process. Grey matter can actually shrink or thicken. New neural connections can be forged and refined or weakened and severed. Changes in the physical brain manifest as changes in abilities. Each time a new skill is learned, it reflects as a change in the physical structure of the brain. New wires or neural pathways are developed. The severing or degrading of neural pathways is also reflected in behaviors like memory loss and increased reaction time. The third major effect of brain aging is a subtle change in neurotransmission or chemical communications between neurons. The most affected neurotransmitter is acetylcholine. The reduced production of this neurotransmitter probably accounts for learning deficits and decreased coordination and mobility with increasing age. Let us now see what are the other symptoms of aging. Aging has a global impact on the functions related to the brain. Effects of aging can be seen in the progressive deterioration of the brain-related activities. Some of the affected areas with increasing age are: number 1, short-term memory loss and inability to learn new material. Number 2, loss of verbal abilities like remembering the appropriate word at the appropriate time. Number 3, decline in the ability to process information. Number 4, increased reaction time due to slowing of processing of nerve impulses. Number 5, decline in problem solving ability. 6th, poor motor coordination. 7th, reduced sensations. Now let us understand some myths about brain aging. First myth. Until recently, conventional wisdom held that a person is born with all the brain cells he would ever need and would lose a significant number of these cells as he ages. Fortunately, new techniques like MRI and PET scans have proved that the conventional wisdom is wrong. The human brain is a remarkable organ. It consists of billions of neurons and trillions of synapses or connections between these neurons. We do not lose brain cells in such great numbers as was thought earlier. The even more amazing fact is that the aging brain is capable of generating new cells, also called as neurogenesis. This capacity for neurogenesis, when combined with the brain's proven ability to change its structure and function due to external stimuli, also referred to as brain plasticity, leads to the significant observation that cognitive function can be improved at any developmental stage of the individual. Increasing cognitive functioning implies the ability to: number 1, process information faster. Number 2, make decisions more quickly. Number 3, perform multiple tasks, that is multitasking. Number 4, learn new information faster. 5, retrieve older information. 6, concentrate better. 7th, faster physical reflexes. And 8th, sharper visual discrimination. Memory enhancement is just the tip of the iceberg in the terms of the capacity of an adult brain. With the ever-changing technological scenario, there is a choice to either continue to learn throughout life or allow skills and knowledge to deteriorate. Lifestyles of people can decide how quickly or slowly brain functions will decline. Now let us understand another myth, that is the second myth associated with brain aging. It has been said that you can't teach an old dog new tricks, which reflects the notion that the elderly are generally deficient in learning ability. It is believed that as the person grows older, the ability to learn deteriorates quickly. In 1927, Thorndike reported that the ability to learn declines very slowly and very slightly, about 1% per year, after the age of about 25 years of age. The later studies of Lodge substantiated Thorndike's observation and also revealed that the decline was that of speed of learning and not of the intellectual power. This too was minimized by the continued use of intellectual power. Researchers have found that the aged brain has a remarkable and enduring capacity to make new connections, absorb new data, and thus acquire new skills. Although short-term memory weakens with age, fewer training sessions in memory skills can bolster the memory of the elderly. Research also suggests that while mental processing slows with age, with training and continuous usage of mental capacities, the elderly can do as well as the young adults. Now let us understand how we can prevent memory loss and cognitive decline. There is an old adage, if you don't use it, you lose it. This means that if you don't use the brain, it loses its functionality. Hence, the opposite is also true. Brain has the capacity to restore its functions. Many neuroscientists emphasize that there are individual differences in age-related brain decline. These differences are mediated by individual and environmental factors. The best aspect about therapies related to dealing with brain plasticity is that they are drug-free. It is important to remember that the brain has an unparalleled capacity for restoring its own function, and this is because the brain does not store each of its memories in a single separate brain cells or neurons. Instead, memories exist in networks of connected neurons. If one neuron dies, the brain can switch its memory connections through another neuron and retain the memory. Neurologists can call this redundant circuitry. Brain cells can grow new dendritic branches at any ages. One easiest and effective way to create new connections is simply to think. Especially concentration on one particular subject at a time will help in growing the respective part of the brain. The same practices that contribute to the healthy aging and physical vitality also contributes to healthy memory. These are exercising regularly. Physical exercise is emerging as an effective way to slow brain aging. Regular exercise can boost brain growth factors and encourages the development of new brain cells and new brain connections. Exercise also increases blood flow and oxygen uptake in the brain, increasing fitness and reducing biological age. It also reduces the risk for disorders that lead to memory loss, such as diabetes and cardiovascular diseases. Exercise also makes a huge difference in managing stress and alleviating anxiety and depression, all of which leads to a healthier brain. Second is remaining social. Researchers have found that people who don't have social contact with family and friends are at a higher risk for memory problems than people who have strong social ties. Active social interaction helps brain function in several ways. Interaction with others helps ward off stress and depression. So, join a book club or join a local laughter club, reconnect with older friends or visit a local senior center. Being with other people will help us keep sharp and alert. Third is diet regulation. One of the best ways currently available to slow the aging process is to eat your vegetables, says Dr. Wildering. So, eat plenty of fruits and vegetables and drink green tea, as these fruits contain antioxidants in abundance, which can keep the brain cells from rusting. Research has shown that diet that is heart healthy may also be brain healthy. Foods rich in omega-3 fats such as fish and walnuts are particularly good for brain and memory. Eating too many carbohydrates can increase the risk of developing memory loss or cognitive impairment. Also, avoid saturated and trans fats, which can help in reducing cholesterol levels and the risk of stroke. Fourth is stress management. Cortisol, the stress hormone, damages the brain over time and can lead to memory problems. But even before that happens, Stress or anxiety can cause memory difficulties in the moment. When the individual is stressed out or anxious, he is more likely to suffer memory lapses and have trouble learning and concentrating. It is important to remember that the body has increased nutritional needs during stress. When fulfilling these needs, ensure that the diet remains nutritious and healthy. Next comes the role of sleep. Sleep is important for memory consolidation, the process of forming and storing new memories. Sleep deprivation also reduces the growth of new neurons in hippocampus and causes problems with memory, concentration and decision making. It can even lead to depression, which is another memory killer. Next comes the impact of smoking. Smoking heightens the risk of vascular disorders that can cause stroke and constrict arteries that deliver oxygen to the brain. Next comes the role of walking. New research indicates that walking 6 to 9 miles every week can reduce brain shrinkage and memory loss. According to the American Academy of Neurology, older adults who walked between 6 and 9 miles per week had more grey matter in their brains 9 years after the start of the study than people who did not walk as much. Researchers say that those who walked the most cut their risk of developing memory loss to a great extent. Now let us know some brain exercises to boost memory power. When it comes to memory, it's use it or lose it. Mental exercises for the brain is as important as the physical exercise for the body. Try to find brain exercises that you enjoy. The more pleasurable the activity is, the greater its impact on the brain. The activities can be made more enjoyable by appealing to the senses. Walking can be made more enjoyable by playing music during the exercise or rewarding oneself after finishing the task. Here are some ideas for brain exercise. First, play games that involve planning and strategy like chess and word games like Scrabble. Crosswords and other word puzzles or number games like Sudoku can be fun. Reading in leisure time, that is reading newspapers, magazines and books that challenge and interest you. Develop a healthy habit of learning new things, games, recipes, a musical instrument, a foreign language, using the computer, surfing the net. Next, take the interest in a course related to an unfamiliar subject of your interest. The more engaged your brain, the greater the benefits that you will experience. Take on a project that involves design and planning, such as a new garden or changing interiors of your home. Now let us specifically understand the importance of meditation. The yoga practice of concentration of steadying the mind by fixing the thought makes the brain cells grow and thus creates an instrument adaptable for higher thinking in the future, was said by Annie Besant. This was written by Annie Besant in her book Modern Science and the Higher Self in as early as the 1900s. Science today is able to prove her right with all the studies conducted on how meditation can help in brain growth. Spiritual and religious traditions have always focused and emphasized the practice of concentration and meditation to attain spiritual progress and become perfect human beings. What does it mean to us in today's world? Studies are proving that meditation results in brain growth. The brain is the most complex, powerful organism in the universe, and taking care of it requires a holistic approach, including aspects dealing with physical as well as mental development. A number of studies have linked meditation practice to the differences in cortical thickness or density of grey matter. One of the most well-known studies related to this was led by Sarah Lazar in 2000 from Harvard University. Another researcher closely associated with this area is Richard Davidson, a neuroscientist at the University of Wisconsin. He has led experiments in cooperation with the Dalai Lama on the effects of meditation on the brain and found a close relationship between the two, that is, indicating meditation has a positive effect. Now let us understand how do we deal with memory loss. Despite following the suggestions given earlier, there would be some elderly persons who would show certain degree of memory loss. Even if the person is experiencing a troublesome level of memory loss, there are many things that can be done to learn new information and retain it. Today, technology has a huge role to play in the loss of memory even in younger persons. The advent of the cell phone has made it unnecessary for individuals to make an attempt at trying to memorize phone numbers, important dates, or even their daily schedule. Here again, we can see the implication of use it or lose it. Some tips that a person can use to help deal with the problem of memory loss, these are to keep tracks of dates, schedules, tasks and phone numbers. You can make checklists. You can put appointments and important dates on calendars and in a day planner. You can put important notes to remember in places that are easily noticed, like the door of the refrigerator. You can place important phone numbers and other contact information in an easily accessible place. If you have trouble remembering how to do something, write down the steps. To remember where to put things, some of the tips are: put the things you use regularly, that is keys, glasses, purse, watch, etc., in the same spot when you are not using them. If you have to put something in a different place, say the location out loud. If necessary, write down where the things are kept. Now to stay on the top of times and places. Set an alarm clock or timer to remind you when to leave for an appointment or to do something in your home. Make liberal use of maps to get from one place to another. Enlist the help of friends and relatives to remind you of important events and appointments. To learn new information, some tips are: listen closely when someone talks to you. Repeat the information. Try to talk with the people in quiet places. Focus on one thing at a time and screen out distractions. Well, now let us summarize what all we have learnt in this chapter. First of all, that the brain is easily the most important as well as the most complex part of the body. The brain functions varies as the person goes through the various developmental changes. It can be seen to increase during childhood and is relatively stable during adulthood and deteriorates as the person grows older. Impact of aging can be seen in the form of physical symptoms like loss of neural circuits, reduced brain plasticity and changes in neurotransmitters. Behavioral changes like loss of verbal abilities and poor motor coordination, and cognitive changes like difficulties in problem solving and loss of memory. Until recently, it was considered that the brain loses neurons as a process of aging. However, recent researches using new techniques like MRI have found that the brain has a huge capacity to regenerate and form new connections. Scientists and researchers have suggested methods to enhance the functioning of the brain. These methods include physical exercises, mental exercises, and meditation. Studies on meditation have shown that it is very helpful in increasing an individual's memory and concentration levels that enhance the person's ability to learn new material. And despite the measures to enhance the functioning of the brain, some degree of memory loss can be experienced by some elderly persons. Certain steps in the chapter have been suggested to deal with such a situation.